Stream's up. What's up? Heyo. Let's get this all set up. Hey, look at that. I got a stream. Streams are good. Test, test, test. Got a microphone. Got all the stuffs. All right. Let's make sure everything's tested. We got music. Let's turn that baby up a little bit. A little high, not too bad. All right. Here we go. Live. All right, so let's kick this off. I just checked some stuff in. In part because of something that, hey, I'm just going to pull down what Jim was just working on. Update now. Collab should work quicker for me. I don't know what the heck is up with Jim's setup, but I'm gonna pull this sucker down. Just to sync up, make sure I'm keeping us honest. And all right, come on. Maybe pulling stuff down when you're streaming is like no good. I don't know. What is with this low res output here? It says I'm it's complaining that I should use low latency or that the video's buffering. Huh. All right, let's try this out. I think I'm okay. All right, great. Let's check this out. Pow! Hey, Jim stream fans. Just want to follow up with what I was doing while Jim was like doing all the cool, you know, the things that the engine wasn't quite designed for, but needs to be able to do. I was doing some fun stuff and some other infrastructure stuff, and there we go. Did the raid happen? Yes, the raid did happen. There we go. All right, and I'm trying to pull down Jim stuff, but maybe collab is just like slamming my connection. I got like 800 megabits or some nutty amount in theory. Download, upload, or you know. If you use an honest speed test, it's like 400 or 500 or something like that. But this is sitting here wanting to pull something down. Awesome. All right, well, let's kick off with what auto fires again. So the change I was making just now, you get to look at these amazing like history here. Yeah. So I was making some. I was trying to remind myself, right? I just wrote this change list, and I'm trying to remember. So I've been working on making highway segments, and basically between overworld maps, there's going to be these highways, and they worked okay north-south. The entrances were kind of messed up. I kind of had to create a little bit of a custom generator to make all that stuff work. So let's close this down. I don't know what's going on with this. Here we go. Chrome sometimes just wants you to restart the editor, so I'm gonna do that. Let's start this sucker up. So I'm going to pull this open, and then also, when that gets done loaded, I think I'm going to probably be pulling some more assets from my one of my different packages and see if I can come up with some new stuff to throw into the game. Hey, salutations! Look at that. I got my little chat feed here in the corner now, so I'm pointing at the screen. I don't know why I do that. Chat feed, where my cursor is. I don't know, because I've been putting this up on YouTube, and there's like 2 people in the whole universe that want to watch that stuff. But it's good to have that stored somewhere, so I can go back to it. And also, if people are working with me, they can see kind of how things are set up by watching some of this stuff. So it's actually been kind of a useful tool to be able to save this stuff. So, you know, Twitch only saves past broadcasts for like 60 days or something like that, and I want to make sure that they're up archived somewhere so that I can whip them out when somebody's working on something like the patch system or one of the other things I'm using that are a little quirky, you know, sort of homegrown tools, but you know, there they are demonstrated. So thank you. So we get to start Unity again. You guys get to watch some progress bars because you know, apparently firing up autofire means progress bars. One of the curses of any Unity project that has a lot of assets, hi Lily, is, let's see, asset store. Open up the asset store here. So like if I look at the assets I've got, now I'm not using all these, right? But if you pull in one of these things where it's like, hey, sweet, I want this cool, you know, these cool soldiers, right? I got these guys, like I bought this asset pack, right? And it's like, sure, yeah, like cool little, you know, mutant wasteland looking dudes. I have too many like soldiers that are like in like, you know, U.S. military uniforms or blue versions of U.S. military uniforms or red version. You know, it's basically like the soldier from TF2, right? I got that sort of stuff. I didn't really have a lot that was looking a little more like ragtag, and these guys even are you know, they're a little more like Call of Duty. It was a guy soaked with the fishing hat and the handlebar mustache and stuff like that. So that's all great, but when you bring these assets in, I'll give you an example of that in a moment. Here's the VFX playground, actually. So I'm going to pull in one of these VFX's packages that I downloaded. So I got a whole bunch of stuff here, right? I'll click on VFX, and look, I bought 20 VFX packages. This is all while the game is still loading. 20 VFX packages, right? So here's one that's pretty cool. Impacts, muzzle flashes. You go to this thing, and unfortunately, I got to open the browser to show the video. It's cool. I mean, some of these things are really realistic. You know, you get these like big, flashy, you know, starburst via muzzle flashes and all that stuff, which is rad. Except, yeah, ATR Sport, you know, all that stuff. That's rad, except when you zoom out, you know, zoom way the heck out and you look at that thing, it's just a little blob. It doesn't matter. I mean, maybe like a star would look pretty cool. But the only thing I actually stole from it is, you see that like, that little curly smoke that comes after he shoots. It's very elaborate and stuff. I zoom that like way up, so when you shoot certain weapons, that animation, it's a full-on like multi-frame animation in a big particle. It does that whole wispy jazz, and that was kind of fun to steal. Whereas most of this fire, this splashy stuff, I didn't really end up using. But you bring this thing in. So if I go back over to the VFX Playground, so let's import impacts and muzzle flashes into this package. This is a VFX Playground. I'm not going to bring it into my project because I learned that lesson long ago, and I'm still paying the price. Is you import this and you get 8 hojillion materials and prefabs. You know, you can turn things off, like, you know, I'll never bring in, like, if I import something into my project directly, you know, if there's like a sample map or something like that, I don't bring any of that. But the problem is if there's any scripts, yeah, here it was, under demo. Yeah, there's demo. Like, you know, turn that crap off, right? I don't need an M14 just so that, you know, that's sitting there taking space in the asset folder. So, right, you know, you totally want to lift stuff out. So I'm just gonna go nuts here, import the whole shebang. I don't know why those notifications keep coming up. Okay, so I'm gonna import this up, and you know, so every time I bring in one of these into my real project, it makes Jim sad, right? So it means that he has to sync up more stuff, and the editor takes longer to load, and because anything is .shader or anything that's .cs, the game doesn't really know whether you're going to use those things or not. So instead of, like, some of them are usage-based, right? So if there's a prefab or a model with a bunch of materials and textures associated with it, it can follow that usage tree, the dependency tree, and it will take that model and it'll package up all this, you know, it'll make sure that it's got all the materials and all the textures and everything that object needs to run. Any references that are directly pointing to it from an object, it'll pull that stuff in. So if I grab like a tree, it'll have the leaves, it'll have the bark, it'll have the model, it'll have the animation on the tree, or all the other stuff that's referenced to it. That's a dependency. If I pull that in, great. If I don't use that tree, it won't pull those things in, unless it's a script or a shader. And in those cases, Unity doesn't know, like, it'll take all the other things out of the package, but Unity will still package up and use and import and whatever all the .cs files and all the .shader files, because it just doesn't have any information. It can't go through the code and know if you're ever going to reference it. It can't go, you know, basically those things are just in the project forever. So it's just kind of a pain in the ass. So I'm going to load one of these maps. Meanwhile, did my project load? No, not that. There it is. See, it's still checking for changes over there in load time. That's what collab does. It loads up the project and then it checks all the files, which includes all the ones that might never end up in the package, right, from these asset bundles, and it scans them to make sure they haven't changed every time you start up the editor, and that makes me sad, but it's how collab works. All right, so I brought that thing in. Let's load up that while we're waiting here. I'm going to take, so I think that was, yeah, it's Crypto VFX. Let's fire this up. You know, these packages are cool. I mean, it's always fun to run the demo and see what happens. Oh, except this one I'm falling through the world. I don't know what the heck I did here. Mobile demo? Okay, the mobile demo is apparently just a standalone, which is actually better anyway. So I can look and see, you know, some of these are cool. You got like those little shards of glass, like that sort of thing, where it's like maybe I don't know if it's a model or a little polygon. That's kind of a neat little trick. Yeah, you feel like there should be a way to flag things in collab and tell them not expected to change. Well, when you use Perforce, okay, all right, well, it's morning. All right, I'll keep talking. Sam is back. Gotta have the cat break button. You were just outside, weren't you? Yes. All right, so yeah. I mean, something like this where I see, like, you know, little shards of glass and stuff like that. That's a great idea, right? Something big like that, especially when you got the bloom and all that. It looks really good. Yeah, there's that wispy smoke, right? So I stole that. This one I use a little bit. Again, some of these are really elaborate, like particle simulations that someone rendered to a card, as in a texture, and made a little animation, and it plays it back inside the particle effects system, and it's able to do that sort of stuff. And then some of them are just traditional particles, like these little spinning rocks. I don't know if those are models or particles, but we got cat adventures. All right, back to work. But yeah, in Collab, it checks everything. If you use like Perforce, what it does is it just trusts that basically it'll check things out as you start editing them if Perforce is integrated in a tool you're using. But then when you're ready to check in, often the way you do it is, I got Perforce over here. Perforce is like free if you don't have like a big team, which is pretty great. So I just use it for my own personal source control. So I actually have this. I check everything in Perforce, and I check everything in Collab. And the Perforce is for me, includes like stuff that's not in my project. So including like my source assets directory. So if I'm noodling around with some UI bits or some effects textures or something like that. Like, hey, I was playing around with armor bands, and stuff like that. I got all the PSDs in here, so that's how I work. But basically, you reconcile offline assets. It's just a function you use in there. At that time it'll go in and look for changes as to what happens. So let's keep this going. All right. So we got our effects here. And at some point, I think, so I'm going to stop this, and hopefully, yes, the project has managed to finish doing stuff. Look at this. So Jim checked in 2 things 16 minutes ago. I'm going to hold off on that. I don't want to look at the progress bar for another 15 minutes. So let's, but usually restarting will help Collab kind of clear its head, I guess, because I have to do that every other time I check in. It's like, hey, I'm ready to check in, and it's like, I don't know what to connect to. I'm Collab. And when I say Collab, it's Unity's built-in source control system. It's not Perforce. There's other tools that people use, Git, all that stuff, for source control. And Unity has their own, where everything is saved to a repository. It tracks changes, but it's still a little rough. It's sort of like, hey, company's first source control system, and it isn't really up to snuff with some of these other tools. All right, here we are with everything's really quiet. There we go. All right, so I was working on this highway, and believe it or not, I ended up making 2 maps. This is really lame, but I made a map to generate highways, really skinny highways that go east-west, and other ones that go north-south. I could have just made a single like vertical north-south highway, and had the east-west highways also use the same thing, but I want to have a compass. I didn't want to hack it. I figured it was probably better to just have 2 maps and maintain the changes between them, because they all use a profile. They're almost exactly the same. This is my shame, right? I made this. Where the heck is it? Outpost data. I have this generator. Location over data. Where the hell are you? Highway. So this is a generator. This is some generator info for a highway map. Again, this is a data format that I'm just working off. Understood if you find source control a little baffling. It can be a little weird to just get your head around. It just becomes kind of second nature as you start working with it a lot. But see, I have a north-south highway definition. This is a location type, and it loads highway north-south. It's 32 by 128, And yes, I load a separate east-west one, which inherits all the information from the previous one, so at least I don't have to duplicate that information. That's the kiss of death, right? You have to duplicate too much information on 2 different maps. You're going to screw it up at some point. In this case, it just loads the east-west map instead, and it's 128 by 32. It's kind of dumb, but it's okay for now. Like, maybe at some point. So let me zoom out and show you what this map looks like. Been working on it all week to try and get all the kinks out and have it do everything I want. So I'll zoom out. So this is an east-west one, obviously. So you start here in one of these highways. That's the exit to the previous map. I gotta make sure it draws the road all the way up to the edge. That's mostly covered with fog, but yeah, you go to the other end, and there's barricades and various things that get spawned across it. So barbed wire, or mines, or gas cans, or whatever. Some wrecks. There's some missile towers that'll launch at you. And at the other end is the exit. So let me go back. Hey, cats! You've only seen Sam. Yeah, well, if you heard... we have 6 cats here, so we have a lot of cats. We've had as many as 8 over the years. 6 is where we're at right now, and that's plenty. Yeah, you've seen Sam. He's one of them. He's the guy that was there just a moment ago. So basically, you cat-wise, you were hearing another one crying, and there was another one by my feet. So there already been 3 cats in the room, and it's been like 10 minutes. So that's pretty par for the course. So anyway, you enter a map. This is going to go east-west. So when an overhead sector, you leave an overworld sector, and then you've got to travel to the next one to the east or west. You'll load up this map. One end will be an entrance to the east end, and one entrance will be to the west end. And you'll have to travel this way, and it'll cost you, you have to go by these towers, not get killed. Oh, geez. I have the ability to make these towers anticipate where you're going to be. So if you're just running, racing forward. So if you we're on a mission where you have to kill these towers, it's actually more fun. See right here, it's just actually trying to place targets, missiles right where you are. And so you kind of have to keep going, keep moving to take it out. Oh, jeez. Or you get pelted with rockets. Yes, cats all fight for our attention. It was really hard to sleep in bed last night because it was kind of cold, and all the cats hated. So anyway, like if I have situations where these watchtowers have to be destroyed, and that's fun to have the missiles attack wherever you're standing. So you don't just like stop and just keep shooting the thing. I mean, you can, but you're gonna get pelted with rockets, right? So I do this. All right, this is like Nuketown, right? I'm just gonna keep shooting this thing. Why is it complaining? Okay. Put that in a weird state, I guess. There we go. Oh, it's on top of a rock. That is a generation issue. So yeah, I can't target it. So that's even better. So I'll show you what happens actually when Armored Watchtower. When that thing can anticipate where you're going to shoot. It's a very different experience. And it was something that Jim was asking about on stream, and I put in, and it's kind of cool and kind of terrible. Again, it probably depends on what you kind of want out of the Watchtower experience. So it uses this emplacement rocket. This is the weapon it's equipped with. So it's just like a player weapon or NPC weapon. They all use the same system. And here's the weapon entry. This is all in a table that I edited in Google Docs. missiles do kind of come from a base of the tower. I can actually define. I can define a fire point. I never like. It's just a tower with no like actual gun on it. It's just like I used an asset that I bought right from those asset stores, right? And it just kind of emanates from it. So yeah, I got to figure out where it's going to come from, and I don't know. Maybe hopefully I can get like a little gun model or something like that, so it'll look better. For now, I'm gonna try this thing out. Random spread. Yeah. So let's go back to my code. There we are. Oh, zoom it in so you guys can see. Random spread. Where the hell am I reading that? Just trying to refresh my memory here. I got an offset. Lead turns. That's the that is the ability that I have to put in here. So if I add lead turns, all right. Here's the thing with source control. I'm going to use source control to just check everything out. I just checked everything in that I was working on. That's why I was able to start stream, because I was like in the middle of something, and then hey, 5 minutes before Jim finished, I did a big check-in, so at least I knew my code compiled and it wasn't just a big comedy hour. So I always check out scene scripts and streaming assets, because those are the things the tool doesn't handle very well. I'm going to tell it to this two-shot rocket to lead with 2 turns. So the rockets themselves take 3 turns to get there. And it'll basically look at the speed and say, well, in 2 turns, if you're going at a speed of 3, you're going to be 6 tiles forward, right? So, so I can set the lead turns to exactly the time it's going to take for that missile to take to get there, which is 3. In this case, well, let's do 3. Let's make it perfect and give it no spread. We'll see what happens. See how terrible this is. So it should aim directly at the place that I am heading towards, and nowhere else. No spread, no randomness, nothing. Here's the test of the system. Is it going to do the right job? And you tell me if the sound is weird or anything like that. God, I gotta get new voices for those soldiers. Wow, one of them I swear sounds like Grandpa Simpson. Kill the boy! Alright, go back the other way. Alright, I'm gonna spawn Kent's armored watchtower so we can see what he does. So I'm going at 2. Well, in this case, he's shooting right the hell at me. Nice. Alright, well. Oh, I think I gotta put lead turns directly on the ability. Lead turns. This is a whole week ago I implemented this, so, like, I forgot. Armored watchtower. There we are. Yeah. This guy is. Oh, wait, okay. The spread. It's still doing the spread. Gotta take that out correctly, but it is definitely shooting where I'm gonna be, which again is like, you know, if I'm traveling down the highway at a certain speed, they can't go any further than it can actually launch the rockets. But that might be the way to go. But then you've basically got to dodge and weave down. Oh, see, yeah, look at that. It's aiming right towards where I'm looking. So, you know, it's like, is that cool gameplay? It depends on who you ask. I think it'd be neat for certain types of things. And you'd want it to be inaccurate, right? Like, maybe it's got a really wide spread and it just shoots stuff in a big area around where you're going to be. But yeah, here's the random spread, so I could remove that and it would be spot on. But you get the point, right? So I'm gonna take this random returns. I'm gonna put this here just so I don't forget how this works. It's very easy to just forget all the stuff you implemented, right? And you don't have autocomplete or any of the stuff that code has. So, all right, let's do this. So you were mentioning Quimson. You were mentioning, like, hey, the missiles come out of the base of the tower. That is true. Let's look at that. Why not? Do some quick cleanup work. Nothing wrong with it. This is a very impromptu sort of session, so I don't really have anything planned. I'm just going to be doing some maintenance code and hopefully do some stuff that looks interesting to folks. Oh, flaming oil. Oh, you're going fast. Alright. Looks like there's an issue with the placement of these patches. There's these barricades that go across the road, and it looks like they're misaligned here in some cases. I gotta figure that out. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. I just want to look at these towers. Yeah, so the tower, you saw that rocket come right out of the center, and that's kind of lame, right? Let's look at that. Armored. Let's look for watchtower. There it is, armored watchtower. Let's look at that sucker. Okay, so it's got a bunch of definitions in it here. Add a inspector here. This makes it a little easier to see. If I can do it in inspector here sometimes, just doesn't get covered up by other junk. So one thing I have is I have an attack bolt so it basically uses the origin, or it uses a spot that the rockets are supposed to come from. So one thing I can do, this is really simple and stupid, but I am going to... Oh, look at that. I got a fire point already. So this is just an empty transform, right? A transform is a game object. It's one of these many things, anything that you might create in Unity that has a visual component to it. And in a lot of cases, not even a visual component. They have a transform, which is, you know, all the basic stuff, position, all the rotation, scale, all that stuff. And what I could do here is I have this fire point, and this defines where the rockets could come from, if I should so choose. It's in the transform, I believe it shoots in the, let me look at a car. So it's funny, like, things I wrote long ago, I'm just trying to remember some of this stuff. So, Jupiter. What the heck did I call these vehicles? Alright, so the vehicles... I got vehicle bodies that I basically use. Yeah, here they are. Cricket body. Stallion, that's the thing I was trying to open, right? So here's the Stallion. And it actually has a number of attack bolts attached to it, right? So this is basically how it knows where to put the effect and where the bullet should come from and everything. So, and I don't want this to be global. There we go. So here's the object. If I click here, front, the front bolt right here, this is where the bullets come out, right? This is the Z-axis, so this is red, green, blue, X, Y, and Z-axis. So this is where the front shoots from. There's the right. Here's the back. So it's going to fire on the blue axis. So if I'm placing this, I just got to make sure I know that. And then there's a turret axis, which we will have turrets at some point, just not today. I use the turrets. The F key fires any gun right now, and that can also fire turrets, is the plan. So you gotta have all that fantasy, right? I got turrets on top of my car if I want. Maybe some of them have ram plates that are visible. And all these are eventually going to be loaded up with actual visual models, so you can see the guns on the cars and everything, right? So right now it's sort of sort of a Mustang clone, it looks like. But we want to see armor plate on it and everything like that as you modify. So that's coming. And I will probably attach them right to the attack bolts, right? So that the gun's barrel will be right at the correct spot. So let's go back to that watchtower. Watchtower. There it is. Fire points. Alright, so I don't want it to shoot always in that direction because it doesn't know where it's going to go. And right now there's no facility for it to rotate that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset this so it's right in the center here. Just going to have it come right out of the roof for the time being and just see what that looks like. Maybe it'll look awesome. You're looking at it from above, so like, people will be like, hey, you can't fool me. I can see there's no gun there. Let me do that. I'm looking at stuff from the side just so I can line it up and make it come right from the very top here. Now look at it from the top. Let's center that. Looks like it's pretty good. And then remember, as I mentioned, it's got to fire down the Z, the blue axis. So I want it to shoot up. So I'll do that. All right. So here it is. And then all I have to do is drag this fire point into the attack bolt, and it'll use it. And everything's going to be amazing, as it always is. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it'll work great. Flawless beauty. All the way, baby. All the way. No, you're not going to fool me, Mr. Bear. Oh, jeez, yeah. Drove right into those mines. Oh, no, oil. Oh, dear. So much oil. Oh, God. All right. I thought there'd be a tower here. Got mode on. There's the tower. Alright. It's going to shoot at me from, hopefully, that point. Yeah, it did. Look at that shiz. Alright, so it's okay. It's, clearly, you can... It's actually almost... It's arguably worse than if it, came from the middle of the barricade here. Because... Well, it's very obvious that it's not shooting from anything. But you're willing to believe for, like, the car. The car doesn't shoot from anything either. From any, like, visible point either. If I mount... Let's see, rocket. Rocket's an example of something you can shoot without... rocket's something you can shoot at the ground. Machine gun you can't. But, there it is. It came magically out of the front of the car. Let's shoot out the back here. Look at that. Oh yeah, it just kind of came out of the butt there, and you're willing to believe that it came out of the pipe or something like that. So yeah, that goofy little that spot that they're launching rockets from is maybe not great. What we want it to do. I mean, basically this tower is something I got out of the asset pack. and it's okay. I mean, I modified it a bit so there's these sort of like little portholes that it can shoot from. I really don't want to create a system where I'm able to have like individual aim sides and stuff like that. Vehicles do all that. I don't want to overcomplicate entities. But, I wonder, actually let's just super simple stupid thing. What if I made this fire point shoot down? There it is. I don't know what that'll look like. I mean, it won't know any better if it shoots into the ground, so I obviously don't want it to do that, but it's not actually designed to do that. It's basically going to have a velocity of down, and then in theory there's a spline that's going to try to put control points that go up. Yeah, you put the transformer around the floor of the guard area. Yeah, that's the thought, right? Spawn armored watchtower. I was doing that before I met Jim, so I'm not copying Jim that way. All right. So what happened there is it actually shot out of the ground, or sorry, it shot out of the floor. And I was hoping maybe it would curve down and then go up and then go down. I could certainly make the splines do that. This one's a little weird. Let's pause and see what's going on here. I can just zoom in on that point. We can look at the smoke trail to see what happened here. Turn the gizmos off. So it looks like it came out and almost immediately reversed direction. Which is interesting. Let's play with this just a little bit. It'd be kind of fun. Alright, so it's shooting this rocket, and the rocket is a special type of it's a spell. Spells are projectiles, right? And the projectile type is the projectile defined in here. Oh no, the projectiles. Yeah, the projectile is defined in the weapon, and then it uses the ability. And the reason that exists is so I can have machine guns that have 800 different machine guns that have different impact effects and stuff, and they still all use the same ability, right? I don't have to make a like shoot bullet red, shoot bullet green. That would be trash, right? So as much as sometimes when you look at Jim rip apart my code and say like, why don't you have this thing? I mean, I did think ahead in plenty of situations, but his mind's always in a different spot than I am, and so I anticipated some things myself, and he obviously has plenty of Dungeon Man's experience to know how bizarre abilities that bounce off walls and stuff might be implemented. That's actually pretty new to me. So let's look at that rocket. Okay. What the heck is that projectile? Oh, look at this. I just didn't use proj underscore. I did that in some cases. Spell homing rocket. This is the projectile. It is associated with the ability. I lied. In other cases, some things are defined by the weapon, like damage and all that. But yeah, effects, silly me. So here is the spell prefab. So basically, when it shoots the rocket, right, it creates a spell homing rocket, and that's a special kind of projectile. Projectiles are spells that they get generated. In most cases, they get resolved within that turn before the game simulation progresses. In some cases, like what Jim just hooked up, it has travel turns, in which case it takes 3 turns to get to its destination, which was a super awesome addition he made. I was super happy with that. So if I go to that rocket, underscore proj, homing Here's rocket homing proj. There it is. And it has a bunch of little parameters on it. Rocket homing proj. I just want to make sure. Okay, multi-rockets. I just don't want to mess with regular rockets. Yeah, so spell regular rockets like the ones I just shot out of my front are just a regular rocket proj, and these homing ones are a special kind. So they have some parameters in here, and so I added some ways to noodle these guys, so they might actually do some interesting stuff, right? So. And this is all code, right, that I wrote. So let me look at spell. I can look at that. And let's do that here. Spell CS. There it is. All right. And spell info. Spell info is the actual data that is being read in here when I shoot a spell. It's homing rocket, right? Spell data. So it has a bunch of information, including control, launch forward, certain types of motion, and this is where a bunch of like control points get added in. So what I have here is certain number of control points, right? So so basically, I imagine I have a vector from my source to my target, right? It basically it gets there's a forward value, and there's basically 2 control points along the way, and it's going to create a. I'll draw this. Why not? Just so I'm clear, because I'm like waving my hands, and maybe this isn't making any sense. And this is for you too, Martin. If you're looking at this, wondering how this stuff works. Alright, so y'all know maybe if you used any 3D package or 2D or just know anything about drawing, you get these sort of 2 control points and a destination. It's not exactly like this, but not fill this. There we go. So basically, I'm able to take these points and say, okay, I want to shoot from here to here. And then on top of that, I take that information and I get a I get a forward vector, and I get a sideways, and I get a up. Right? Look at that high-tech diagram. So what I can do is, if I'm editing this, I edit this curve. I know I got an end start point. I know I got an end point. Boop. But I can do anything I want with these 2 curves, right? So if I wanted to look drunk, I can make one go way wide right and then the other one go way wide left by saying, all right, shove it to the left, whatever left is for this particular shot. Yeah, still in CS3. I swear, when did this version of Photoshop came out in like 99 or something like that? And yeah, I don't really want to pay subscriptions, so this has been my jam for a long time. But basically, if I want to make this, just arc up, there's no real way for me to anchor this and make it look good. But I can make it like swing, just go really high. What the rocket does right now is it just swings way high like this. It doesn't there's no tangents, so I just do the points, right? If I wanted to do junk, you know, it's pretty simple. I mean, I think you guys get the point. It's like I do that, right? So, Yep. I totally would have upgraded Adobe multiple times if it hadn't been like for this subscription thing. Everyone wants to be a service, right? All right, so with this rocket, what I do is the first point is 40% of the way towards the target. It goes a little bit to the left. So this launch left fraction is it'll go a little bit to the left. It'll go way up. It'll go 1.2. It's actually longer than the whole length of the entire. This is in units that are the length of the actual distance from source to target, right? So it'll go way up no matter what. And one thing I can do is I can make it not do that, right? So it goes way up, and it has two control points at 40% of the way and 60% of the way to the target that are like way above it. That's why it arcs way up like that, right? So what I can do is I can say negative 0.2. So it'll go down a little bit, and then it'll go up. And I'll make it. I'll see what happens if I do that about 20% of the way there. Look, I mean, this is experimental. I got no idea. And then what I'm going to do also, these are just different ways it uses this data. I'm going to say drunk too. So, and what drunk means is it's not very fancy. It just means that it's going to flip the axis. So it'll always swing left and then right, or right and then left. It's random. And that's what the multi-rockets do. I'll show you what drunk missiles look like in a moment, but well, maybe we'll see what a drunk missile does right here. So I'm going to do that to this and just see whether it looks like any good coming out of the, Rise of the Triad, right? Like, the, anime missiles, and everyone loves the anime missiles, right? So, going to have your, Macross? I think Macross was probably really the first one to really popularize that. Hey, there's a tower conveniently right near us. Okay, that was interesting. Let's see what happened. Obviously, if it comes out the front, it's going to go right through this wood panel, but whatever. Well, it looks like it's coming out of the bottom. It's almost believable. I would argue that I'm willing to buy this. It looks a little better than it did coming out of the base, right? But let's zoom in on this and see what happened. What's actually going on underneath the smoke. Where is... Yeah, so it comes right out of there. It swings down a little bit. I didn't make it go down much because I was a little afraid of it actually going like into the ground, because that would be trash. Let's do a little bit more. Just to get this right. Okay. Let's edit this, make it go down a little further. And remember, this is going to be, it's going to go further down if it's further forward. That's just how this works. I might want to change that over the, bump up the origin point a little bit, and then it sells. Oh, you're still thinking it should look like it's coming out of the slits. I'm okay with that. I just kind of like, I would like, since the player's looking from top down, they could scrutinize where things are coming from, and obviously the top was a bit of a miss unless I actually put a gun on top there or something like that. Which means I need a model, and I'd probably want it to rotate. That's all great. It's just, many other things to do first. I'm just going to make it go down a little bit more. And sure, let's push that thing up a little bit too. Watchtower. Armored watchtower. There it is. All around the watchtower. Okay. Pop that up. Let's see how that goes. Alright. Look at that. Yeah, right. Like, and the main thing was creating something I'm able to just noodle with later. The challenge with that is if you create a lot of parameters, it's really great. But if you don't use them immediately, and you wrote it like a year ago, which is something sometimes I'm guilty of. I was like, hey, I wrote this a year ago. I don't remember how it works. Sometimes the numbers become a little bit cryptic, right? If I don't describe them exactly as they're intended or comment them, which is why I was appreciating when Jim was commenting my code. I put in comments in some places, but there's some that I neglect to, like tooltips on the parameters are always a good one to put stuff on. So let's spawn an armored watchtower. I'm willing to believe this. What I don't like is it comes out really slow, right? And part of the reason for that is that my control point is really close to my source. I'm just going to mess with that just a little bit more. Homing. What was I just editing? There it is. Let's look at that. So it's the forward frac, right? Let's make this forward fraction a little bit further out, just a little bit. And that'll actually give it a little, it won't go straight down, right? It should go out a little bit before it then kind of heads to where it's going. I see the target forward fraction is 0.2. I think I goofed that up. We'll get to that in a sec. Shoot here. You can expose tooltips to the Unity editor in the scripts. And I'm trying to remember how to do it. Jim just did it, and I'm like, geez, I haven't done any tooltips like that. Hold on a sec. Let's check this out, and then I'll show you how the tooltip stuff might work. Because we're just all bets are off today. Armored watchtower. There we are. See, 1/3 of the way. Really, it's 1/3 of the way, and it's still like got its butt buried in the tower. That's like sub-awesome. So I am not thrilled with that at all, actually. What I'm going to do is actually collab will actually allow me to see. This is something that Perforce isn't quite as good at. Actually, it looks exactly the same in Perforce. I can look at the changes that I did to this. Before, yeah, here we go. Forward fraction 0.4, up fraction 0.2. I changed that. I made it drunk. Let's take drunk out because I don't think I need it to be drunk. That missile. Let's take drunk out. It was just a wide arc. Yeah. So now it's like, hey, by the way, this changed. So this is now the difference between what I had checked in and the changes I just made. This is really handy, right? Because sometimes you're just noodling numbers and you're like, what did I change, right? And so even before I was sharing files with Jim and other people that are working on this project, I had Perforce at home and I was able to go back and look at my changes. The problem is Perforce is very fiddly and it blew up on me like twice. So every year or so I had to kind of reset the database. It wasn't great. I still have backups of the project on Google Drives and stuff like that so that I'm able to I just got some emergency backups, but the whole project history I only have back about a year right now, and it's because Perforce just made me sad one day. All right, so let's do 0.4 because I still want that I still want it to look like it's going out, frankly. So it's going to go down a little bit and out. Let's try this once more. It's getting a little boring. Let's do some stuff. Come on. All right, so we're going to test this. Hey, there's a tower. So it came out. So you know what I don't like about this is that I'm just goofing around trying to make this work when really what I want is the game to point the fire point at what I want. So I'm going to actually take that watchtower and change how how these fire points are used, right? So armored watchtower. There it is, the definition. Oh, so I got a weapon, and this entity is going to have, it's designed to use the fire point. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to have orient fire point to, it's going to be a new thing. Why not? Pawn data. We're going to go into the code. Let's, oops, not tool top. So you were asking previously, yep, Einhander, right? It's pretty grooving. I've just been using it like a lot on stream, and just because it's kind of gets me going, and I still haven't found like favorite stream songs. I've been playing some of my, you know, the music that I bought, but that gets a little old. So looking for fresh ideas of stuff to stream with. So yeah, I was looking for tooltips. Here it is. So this is it, right? It's here in Rewired. I don't know if there's any in my code other than what Jim just checked in. No, there's none in my code at all. But if you just put tooltip this over there, then you got a tooltip over your publicly exposed. What the fuck is this nonsense? How's it going, Dev Gamer? We got like a streaming celebrity here. Dev Gamer is he's been in the industry just as long as I have. This is very meta. What? What's going on? Oh, you're at lunch. You having lunch? You're just probably ready to stream on Mixer. He's a big Mixer streamer, and over a few years, he's like, oh yeah, you know, I got like 100 subscribers, and he's like, oh, I got 1,000 subscribers, and now he's got 5,000. I don't know. He's at work watching me work at home. Yes, I'm working at home, right? Living the dream. Kind of living the dream, but you know, I'm so lonely. Nah, it's good. People still, Mixer's the new up and coming thing. They got some cool features that Dev Gamer's shown me. He sort of switched over because it had a lot of cool features he liked, and it was up and coming, and it seems like it was a good move for him. Yeah, right? 26,000 now, right? What the? Last time I talked to you, it was like 8,000 or something. I mean, that was 6 months ago, right? Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Although you are streaming like constantly. Every night, it's like the 11 to 2 show. Get paid. All right, nice. All right. All right, so I'm going to go to the pawn data. This is the pawn info. So this is where I'm parsing all this information that I was putting in this data file, right? And I just added a new variable that I'm going to want to store. So orient fire point. Orient fire point. All right. So this is just going to be like a new variable that is going to orient the fire point if I should so choose. I want it to be near the weapon because it's kind of that sort of thing, right? Case, orient fire points. Fire point is, we're going to parse that. Get bool value blank. So if I happen to not, if I just happen to say orient to fire point blank, it's like setting the flag, right? So it's just a nice little shortcut, but I tend to still like to be explicit true. Mainly because when I say true, I mean it, and then sometimes I want to say false, even though like its absence means that it would not be set. So I still tend to write out true and false. It's just an option I have available to me. All right, so every entity actually. Oh, every entity has a fire point. Oh, snap. Tell you what, I'm going to put this on the entity because it has a fire point on it. Entity info. Fire point. Nope. Okay. I'm going to orient this to fire point. It's going to be great. Amazing. Orient fire point. Let's take this out. Actually, I want this part of the regular garden variety. So this would be an example of where I use a tooltip, right? Let's try that. Actually, this is not. It's not a mono behavior, so there's tooltips ain't gonna matter here. Point the fire point towards the target. Y'all. So. This is the equivalent of a code tooltip. You put in summary, and when you hover over it, then it should give you that info. Yeah, see, there it is, right there, the tooltip. So that's another place you want to, in game, in the editor, do a tooltip. You do a summary. I don't always like to do it because it makes your list of variables like 8,000 miles long, but it's good practice, especially for functions and stuff like that, right? So, righty, boo. All right, I don't know if Steve's still here, Dev Gamer. That's okay. He's got to go off and stream to his 26,000 followers. All right, let us find the fire point. Entity using the fire point. All entities have fire points. So that is... Let's look at that watchtower again. Attack bolt, not fire point. Yeah, that's why I couldn't find the damn thing. Attack bolt. Let's see, look at where this is used. Make sure I can use it properly. And attack bolts. So the NPC controller knows where the bolt is, and then the entity is going to decide whether that attack bolt is going to be rotated. So the weapon. So basically, the weapon. This is a weapon controller. Oh, comes a cat. There's an equipment controller. This is all the logic that fires a weapon, deals with cooldown, tracks ammo, all that stuff. it has a copy of this bolt, so it knows if it's a right weapon or left weapon or forward weapon or just a regular weapon, which is what regular entities have. It uses that. So I'm going to take that weapon and okay. So it's going to look at the target. So spawn. Interesting. You know what? This isn't going to matter. It's actually just where the effect comes out. The source bolt is pointing at wherever it needs to go, because the projectile doesn't use the momentum of the z-axis. The z-axis doesn't matter except for muzzle flashes. So make sure, you know, if you're pointing down, then the big fire shoots out south. Oh, you are a celebrity in your own right, my friend. All right. So here I was creating a new thing, and it's trash. All right. I'm gonna close the books on this particular tower inquiry. We learned a little bit about some of the entities and all that. So I'll move on to something else here. Boom, boom, run through everything. There's a tower. That's all right, actually. Shoot you? Yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted to make sure it came out enough in its first turn. So it's kind of coming out there. It just starts a little slow. I think that's good. Okay. So we're all right here. Oh. Oh, okay. Martin might be looking at a car, at least maybe seeing how things are set up. So that's cool. Somebody's on collab. That's cool. It's doing its job. It's telling me when somebody's editing something. That's what that little circle is here. All right. So first thing I'm gonna do is, let's see. Let us look for some effects that I can bring in. That's what I was promising I was going to do, right? So my favorite effect setup is the effect core stuff. Let's look at these scenes here. Effect core. So effect core is, you've probably seen a lot of this stuff in my game so far. Where are you, tough guy? Let's just look at effects. Effects. Bam. Where are you? I love this guy's work. A stylized projectile pack. Yeah. What am I doing? Stylized explosion. Let's look at these projectiles. Let's make sure I have that in my VFX playground. I believe I do. I don't mind the detour, right? I just feel like an idiot. I was like, oh, I'm totally going to fix this. And then like, oh, wait, that's not how it works. Oh, yeah. I'm good with that. I would have to modify how much per turn it does. For 3-turn weapon, it does a third and a third and a third. I'm not sure I want to noodle that just yet. But that is another way that I could do it. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, so we got effect core stuff. Looks like we have it all downloaded. Come on, Effect Core. Where's your stuff? Scripts, packs. Web demos. Come on, why can't I see anything? Packs. Oh, it's explosion packs. There we go. Scenes, that's what I want. So, let's check out throwing some bombs here. Check this one out. Let's see if there's anything I haven't used so far. There we go. Alright, so we got some of these explosions. So obviously I'm already using this sort of stuff. You see it. Looks cool. Let's go to the next one. This is a big explosion. Doesn't have any names. Okay, small green wildfire. Okay, so he just has a lot of recolors. Dark fire, you know, like recolors are great. I hate it. I feel like sometimes people pad packages by saying, "Hey, look, it's totally like 100 effects, and it's like 10 effects with 10 recolors." And it's like, I could have recolored that myself, you know. They're nice, you know, blue demon, fire no smoke. Okay, so we got. Yeah, all right, this is. I basically got everything I need out of this. There is another explosion pack I might pick up. Let's check this guy out. Alright. Now, bullets like this, getting shells kicked out? That'd be pretty sweet, right? I want to do that. That'd be actually pretty fun to see shells come out like that. That would add a lot of flavor to the game. They're going to be really small in the car, but I exaggerate everything in this game. So, you know, if the shells are the size of, like, Coke cans or like this, that's probably cool. So I do have that. I might export that out. Let's see if there's anything else I want to have. So I can go forward. Right click. There we go. There's bigger bullets, really big bullets with a big old crazy impact. Shotguns. We got reds. Yeah, silver. I bet there's a Joker colored. Yeah, Venom green. Yeah, I think we've seen this before. Demon purple. Laser. Okay, so laser I have. It's not very bright. Actually, this big one is pretty sweet. So laser big, red big is a good candidate. Blue lasers, orange, yeah, okay, every color. Plasma. Okay. Maybe I'll bring in the plasma, because that looks pretty rad, right? I don't have a specific damage type for that, but I think I could play with that. That'd be pretty fun. Raging red, okay, yeah. Poison green, yeah. These are all recolors of the same thing. Gold fire, we're back to the center, to the beginning. So tell you what, I'm gonna bring in the red laser, and I want that. I want those bullet casings because those are pretty rad. I kind of like missing prefabs. Let's check that out. So these are typically like when you have an effect and you spawn it in Unity. It's prefab. A prefab could be a model. It could be an animated thing. And effects are just another one of them. It's basically just a big hierarchy of like, you know, you could spawn this whole thing under Goldfire as a single prefab, or it could just be one object, right? In the case of effects, typically there are multiple things that are making them work the way they. There's multiple things to give them all the fancy effects that a guy creates, right? So we got. Oh wait, this is stylized explosion. let's bring this open a little bit here. Okay, great. So I can actually read what the hell. These names are really long. We don't want the styles explosion pack. We want the projectile pack. And we got bullets. Bullets are great. Goldfire. What do we got? So there is a muzzle flash, a projectile, and an impact. So if I put this muzzle flash out in the world, bam, there it is. If I click on it, I can restart. There it is. Sweet. Flare spikes. So it's made of, let's show only selected. It's made of that. And a little bit of extra flashy flash. A glow. All right, pretty sweet. Shells. That's the thing I want to grab. Okay, yeah, this stuff's hot. Check that out. Shells. Pistol shell. What do we got? Is it, it's a mesh. Okay, so I need the bullet shell particle system to drag this out. That's what I want. That's pretty cool. Let's just start with the shells. I think that'll be all right. So the trick to it is that you don't want, like, I probably have brought this in. Actually, let's make sure it isn't already in the project. Shell. I've never used it, so I don't think I did. Shell. Yeah, these are actually projectile models. But what I want. And these are from other packages like that muzzle flash thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, and what you do is you just go to Assets and you export a package. And no, I don't want to export all of this. Come on, don't do this to me. So I want bullet shell particle system. I want that one thing. This one thing. Right? There it is. I don't think I can export it. No, that's comedy. Alright, well, I'm probably... Oh, okay, well, apparently I tried exporting without selecting something, which makes Unity just be like, I don't know what's going on. That's such an unlikely situation that I would click that without something highlighted. So rare. Well, okay, that's amazing. How could that possibly have crashed Unity? That's like the worst. Alright, we're going to totally shut that down. Yay, Unity! Which one is it, though? Do not want to close the wrong one. Alright, good. Close the correct one. Alright. Luckily, this sucker is way quicker to start up again. Unity! Yeah, I love, it's funny to just point at Unity and say, it crashed again, what a pile of crap. Oh man, like, if you've ever used Unreal, it's 10 times worse, because if it crashes even if your stuff crashes, right? Like, I wrote some script that crashed. I put the wrong thing in the editor, and it shut, crashing script shuts down the whole game. And Unity at least recovers from that sort of stuff, that sort of like user mishap. But frankly, that thing where like I tried exporting a package without like something selected in this project window, I had something selected in the hierarchy, is Like, I have no idea. Maybe it was just going to come back in like 10 minutes and say, no good. But it apparently decided to just crap the bed there, at least in terms of streaming sense, right? I don't want to make you guys wait for the next 10 minutes for it to figure out what the heck's going on. All right, so let's go back to where we were. We had a problem I had here was I want projectiles, I want bullets, I want shells. This is the prefab I want right here, right? So this shell, I'm going to select that shell, and then I'm going to export package. I have some Unreal Horror Stories, and look at all the stuff it wants to export, right? And this is what happens when you use packages, because look, it picks out every single CS file, every single piece of code in the entire project, in the entire, like, you know, whether it's demo or it refers to nothing to do with these shells. And it's just like, well, just to be safe, we're going to export everything and just trust. Yeah, Unreal Horror Stories. Yeah, Dev Gamer has certainly had Unreal Horror Stories himself, and I have... I made many people angry by trying to use the Unreal sequencer for what it was designed to do. And people are like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know, it was designed to do it. And they're like, you idiot! Like, don't use that! Epic is like half done with it, even though it's been 3 years in the making. You know, localization fun, right? Unreal is pretty amazing at localization, but only in certain ways. And it's really time-consuming and awful. And if you have sweet programmers like we had at Hidden Path to write you scripts, then it makes it way easier. So it's pretty amazing what we were able to localize. But it can be difficult, and it can be cryptic, and you're running things, and stuff spits out in files halfway across the, spits stuff in files like in some other drive, and you know, like you don't know what's going on, and it's kind of semi-documented. It's sub-awesome. So, all right, so I don't want any of this script. I don't want any of this. Destroy Me. Yeah, I can make my own Destroy Me. I have my own Destroy Me. I have like 3 versions of a Destroy Me script. Destroy Me is like garden variety. Like every Unity project has its own Destroy Me script, which is wait X seconds. I enter what seconds. It's just a script you drag onto anything, and it will just delete itself after X seconds of completion. In this case, they have a Destroy Me, a death timer 4 seconds, so those bullets will delete themselves after 4 seconds. That's great, except I have my own version of that, and so does every other project. So I'm not going to bring in the damn Destroy Me. So really, all I need to export is bullet shell, gun shells, and material. See, it found the model and it found the material, and it has the particle system. So that's really all I need. Let's get the shells here. I can't believe you're still here, Dev Gamer. You're sitting here. I thought you'd be streaming. Watching me like code? Come on, you serious? Oh, I appreciate every person that's come out and watched me fumble around in Unity, because, you know, it takes a village to fumble around and, I don't know, whatever. Alright, so, export fresh is what I'm using. Bullet shell VFX. I also exported some street signs, barricades, and maybe we'll throw some of those in too. I did that yesterday out of some other packages that I purchased. So this is how you move stuff between projects. Unreal has its own system where you can like export stuff to other project and it'll do it from the source, I think is how it works. In this case, I go to the source, I open it up, I make a package, and then on the other end, I import it. Yeah, right? Lurking your homies. Good to see you, man. It's been a while. It's totally been a while. Hope everything's going good. I abandoned these guys a few months ago to go live the indie dream, right? So, you know, they're there toiling away at their, frankly, cool stuff, and I'm toiling away on my own cool stuff. So that's all fair. So let's see. I'm gonna bring in the stuff that I exported. Let's import a package. Hey, what do you know? Here's the bullet shell package that I just exported. Bring it in. Hey, Sam. Sam. Cat walked in, gave me a little look, and went and sat on the shelf. There he is, sitting on the shelf. Yep, sitting in his cat shelf, doing his thing. We're back, yes. All right, so I'm going to import this. It's going to put it in an annoying... It's going to put it in the same path it had before, and I really don't want that. So this is the effect core directory. I'm glad you're enjoying the Unity fumbling, right? If you're going to watch Twitch, you might learn something. You know, that's pretty cool. Fortnite, you learn, you know, where all the secrets are. I don't know. I have yet to play very much Fortnite. I'm a bad person, I know. I'm a bad game designer. I tried. I just couldn't get into it. But it's been a long time. I think it's much more polished than when I first tried it. Alright, so I just brought this thing in. This is that pack. Here's prefab. Look at this. It buried it, you know, in the same directories, which is great, you know. It's just unfortunately everybody has their own place they put stuff. So I'm going to put this in the effects. Look at that. Effect core has its own place it likes putting stuff. Effect core, remember, is the all right, I'm gonna throw its prefabs directory right here in effect core. I'm gonna check that out. There it is, prefab bullets. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to, what do I want to do? When you actually go to speak the language, oh, well, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know how whether this stuff translates very well. Well, thank you. I appreciate the props. It's like every mistype is seen on camera and recorded on YouTube for all posterity, but at the same time, I guess I'm kind of over that anxiety a little bit. I'm still pretty new to streaming, so... although if I end up with some sort of code issue where I have to think more than like 3 mathematical operations, I'm usually like, I'll deal with that after the stream. Like, yeah, I'll do it when no one's looking. All right, sweet. Well, so I want to add those shells to the machine gun. Because who doesn't want a machine gun with shells pooping out the side? Like, okay. I want to see this. Hard-boiled. You ever hear of the comic Hard-Boiled? Graphic novel. Hard-boiled graphic novel. Bring this over. Let's see if there's anything. There's something where he like crashes through a window, and this is this like robot character. Jeff Darrow is a guy who made. He did a lot of concept art for The Matrix back in the day, so you can tell that sort of like fiddly, kind of really highly detailed stuff that he does. And this isn't super big, but. Come on, you. Anyway, at some point he like is crashing through a window and like, you know, driving into a building, and the machine guns are firing, and there's like 8,000 bullets like coming out of the. Let's see if we get any of this. Oh, Pinterest, you have so much stuff. Here it is, right here. So. Like he's shooting, and look at all these bullets coming out, right? Like there's like 8,000 shells, and it goes into the, okay, a little NSFW here. I'll shut that down. Into this weird like arena where things are happening, I will say, because he's an assassin, robot assassin. So yeah, I want like Shells. I want shells all over the damn place when this thing is shooting. Let's see if we can make this 10 times sweeter than it is. Alright, so my machine gun, this is my enemy machine gun, but it uses the same thing. It uses the ability bullet 5 spray. And that is this. So it plays this muzzle flash. Let's go find that. 5-shot orange VFX. 5-shot orange VFX. Let's check that out. Check that shiz out. So this is what the machine gun looks like. Right? So it's all baked in there. It does 5 individual shots. It shoots once, waits a 20th of a second, and then it shoots, and then, you know, etc., etc. But it only plays one effect, and it just repeats itself like this, right? And then, see, there's that little swirly, like, smoke that I stole from that one effect. There it is, you know. I cranked it up so it's more visible. But that's how that works. So what I'm gonna do, I think, is I'm gonna drop in. I'm just gonna bake it right into this effect, right? So it's gonna shoot. The shells are gonna come out the side, and it's gonna be amazing. And everyone's gonna say, "Holy crap, that's amazing!" And I'll be like, "Yeah, it's amazing." Yeah, hopefully. Let's find those shells that I picked up. Shell. Where the hell is it? There it is. Bullet shell particle system. So let's drag that right into this thing. Okay, it's a little big. Look at that shiz. All right. Boop, boop, boop. Let's pull that up. So it's gonna be coming out of a car. So let's drag a car in here just to see what that's gonna look like next to a car. Because if it's like the size of like the hood, that would be a really dumb gun. So vehicles. Here is a stallion body. Let's try one of these. This is the cooler stallion. I like this stallion. This one's great. There it is. I'm going to take that stallion and pretend that it's coming out of the front attack bolt. Remember, I showed you what the attack bolts were. Just going to drag that right in there, and then what I can do is I can reset that location. And now, when I fire this, yeah, it'll look like it's coming out of the front, right? Okay, so like it's shooting like garbage can sized shells. So that's comedy. I don't think we want that. Although it's hilarious. I'm all over that, but I like hilarious things. Let's see here. Exactly, right? And I need some of those too, right? I gotta have like big old tank guns and all that too. Yes. Yes. So I'm gonna take that. It's got that muzzle flash, and then the shells are coming out. So I'm gonna push this up a little bit because I don't want the spot the shells are coming out to be in a weird spot. So shape is how it decides how to spawn projectiles, right? So if I was shooting like particles, it would be in this cone, and it would all go forward in this cone size. And I can change the angle of that, so I can make it bigger. I can make it less. The length I don't need to control because it's just spawning in that arc, right? But yeah, let's not spawn things the size of garbage cans. How about that? Sounds like a pretty good idea, I'd say. Okay, see, this is the problem. You make something realistic size, and what good does that do you? Okay, you've got like a physics object that's bouncing around. You can see it here. Here, let's turn on lighting. Hey, there's lighting. I don't know why I had lighting off. It was bothering me, I guess. See, there it is. There's that shot. Yeah, so that's comedy hour right there. Yes, right. I gotta Oh, I gotta go better than double, right? I mean, look at the size of this muzzle flash. Like, look at that. It's basically the size of, I don't know, the whole front of the hood, which is amazing. So let's start that sucker at like 0.3. Okay, I'm willing to believe that that's gonna work, right? So we're gonna turn that around. I'm gonna make it shoot to the right. Why not? All shots go to the right. That's pretty cool. Boop, boop, boop. All right. So when you're dealing with particle effects, yeah, exactly, right? Gotta have a senseless number of shells. So what I can do is I can say over, let's say, 0.3 seconds. In fact, I won't do this burst. Screw this burst. Scout 0. I'm going to do a rate over time, and I'm going to say 20 bullets per second. It's not going to be many. It'll be like 7. But, right? So we get to see a little thing coming out. That's pretty cool. Burr, burr. It uses physics to... It's spawning kind of high. I'm not sure what that's about. There it is. There it is. It's actually coming out the right spot. It's just, for some reason, a little off to the side. I don't know if it's because of the way the things work. But, so, what it does is it's actually bouncing around in the real world. I think I'm going to keep that. I think. And the reason is because normally what I do is that you can take a plane and you can say, all right, well, wherever you are, use this plane. This is cheaper, right? Is something like this where you say, I'm going to take a plane, and you can tell it where the plane is with just by throwing a little transform, and it'll just bounce around that spot. And that's how I do most of my effects, like that. But a car is going to turn, it's going to swivel, and it's going to tilt. And that's the problem, is if the thing's tilting sideways and it's shooting the shells, you're going to want it to bounce in the world where the world is. Otherwise, that plane will actually be rotated like this, and it'll bounce, up like that. That'd be trash, right? So, yeah. So let's see. Let's get rid of that. So I was just demonstrating how to do something that I'm not going to use, but hey, we're here to learn, right? So, and have it bounce around in the world. Let's make it bounce. Let's make it. No, I think it's all right. All right. Let's just have it do more of this crap, though, right? So I can change where it's gonna shoot the thing, and I can move that down. Straight down, right, basically it's coming right out of that muzzle flash. Right, so that's cool. Let's increase how big the cone is. I'm gonna rotate that cone up a little bit. So I mostly want it to throw up, right? Because you want the players to see this crap. And it's like, holy crap, look at that. Burp, 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 burp. And just to be comical, I can change how fast it launches these things. So in this case, it's going to go from a speed of 5 to a speed of 12. And so they're going to launch, some are going to launch, okay, that's kind of funny. So this is the angle it'd really be looking at. So this is where you really have to care. See, this is the problem. The cone is cool, but, and all that variation is cool. But in the end, it doesn't look like a stream of bullets out of a single mechanism. It looks like just, they just get pooped out. I'm going to make these shells a little bit bigger. Let's make it to 5. Yeah, almost. Yeah, let's go all the way to 0.4. Again, we're getting big, but it's important to be big and cool, and subtlety is overrated is my design credo, actually. There's so much temptation to try to make something look, kind of clever, whereas if somebody thinks about it, they're going to be like, boy, that's really cool, you thought of that. And the fact of the matter is, somebody's playing a game, they're not going to really realize how clever you are unless they go to some FAQ or they play your game for 100 hours and then they figure it out. So generally in your face is where I'm at. Just a little heads up on my credo there. All right, so we got 5 shells. Let's up that. I want more shells, right? Like, who doesn't want more shells? 24. So that was realistic. It does 5 shots, and that would have been 5 bullets. Now we're, jeez. It still kind of looks like it's just crapping them out. I don't really understand. All right. Look at that. What's happening here is if I get close, you can see those bullets are coming out of a weird spot. Why are they coming out there? This is important information. I actually don't know. I mean, straight up, no idea. We're learning here, right? So I'm gonna... X direction is inward a little bit. I'm just gonna... Oh, geez. It's always out there. Comical. That might be because it's physics. Might be the physics going on there. It might come out and then it's like, oh, look, there's a car there, and it just pushes itself outside of the car's collision volume. I'm not sure what that's about. Look at that. What's going on? Why is it coming out there? Alright, I'm going to turn off collision and see if it is collision, because that at least will keep me from... Yeah, it is collision, right? So if I turn collision off, it doesn't matter. Interesting. Let's get this to look the way I want. And then with collision, I think what I can do is I can tell it to not collide with... Yeah, here it is. Collides with everything. Well, guess what? I don't want that. I want it to collide with the terrain. I want it to collide with... not gameplay. Gameplay is generally everything that, like, the players, the enemies, all that stuff. It'd be cool if it bounced off it, but at the sacrifice of it looking terrible, right? So let's just have it collide with terrain and terrain base. That ought to do it. I think it should still bounce. Oh, they don't bounce. Look at that. Enable dynamic colliders. I don't need dynamic colliders. So I turn on everything again. Yeah, okay, that's still working. Well, let's click on this. What is it? What is this? Oh! Sweet. This is an entirely new terrain that I dropped in the world. Remember I said I was making highways? So the highway is made of 4 individual terrain pieces. Something that all terrain has. Let's open up another map that is similar. So I'm just opening up another one right on top of it here. This terrain is also... Wow, okay. Well, I've been messing around with terrain lately, so I guess I had completely forgotten this. But if I open... Overworld? I don't think I've touched that lately. Look at all these different desert terrains. They almost use the same thing. The terrain, yeah, look at that. Probably here where you can't see it, but terrain base is the layer it uses. All of these are supposed to be set as terrain base. I guess when I've been working on things lately, okay, the desert outpost is set to terrain base. The Badlands is not, so I gotta make sure this is set to terrain base like everything else. These highways, I gotta set these to terrain base. Select terrain asset. Okay, let's do north-south. So all I'm doing right now is just as a little quick test. I'm going to change everything to be the layer terrain base. And layers are just a way for you to put something in a different, to have some flags on it to indicate whether physics interacts with it. Use it for drawing and stuff like that. There's tags as well. So tags are used for certain things. Layers are used for certain things. And you can say, hey, you can say, hey, everything in gameplay only collides with terrain base, but this thing doesn't collide with anything, and this thing collides with everything. You can basically, noodle all that with some of the properties of the package. So let's go back to East-West, because that's what we were editing, and I, like it or not, I left a car in here. Don't want to leave the car in there by accident. And remember we were shooting stuff? Yeah, I like shooting stuff. Shooting stuff's cool. Yeah. Okay, here we are. So they still go through the world. We're learning. We're learning right here, baby. It's amazing. Bullet shells, collision, collides with terrain base, but not gameplay. There we go. That's what we wanted. This is what we wanted that whole time. And it's just too far. I like how far it goes, but I'd rather more shells that are closer to the player. That's not quite enough there. Let's do 3. Okay. All right. Give it a little variance. There we go. Excellent. Sweet. We got this. We got this. All right, we got our cone that it shoots out. I'm gonna up that cone a little bit now because I want a little bit more variance. I don't want it to be like a perfect line. There we go. Sure. And I'm going to. I'm able to set the properties of this thing too. So. I don't want it to slide across the ground for an hour. I'm going to bring that dampen down, so every time it hits, it loses velocity. Let's do that. Yeah, that's a little better. And I can make it bounce. It still bounces quite a bit when it. I can make it have. It's like a rubber ball, right? Here it is. Boing, 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 boing. But if I add dampen, it basically slows to a stop pretty quickly, which is pretty good. And then it shrinks at the end. So, all right, this is great. So we just made this. Now it is attached to this stallion body. These bodies are the things that get attached to a car, gameplay car, when it's created. So it creates a vehicle entity, then attaches a body to it. The nice thing is that allows me to set chassis so the player can swap out what vehicle they're using in game, and I've got to get that going. So you can purchase vehicles and do all the sweet stuff that people do when they play games like this, where they want to pimp out their car and have a whole stable of multiple cars. But here is the muzzle flash. So what I did is I edited a muzzle flash we already had, and I added some shells to it. That's pretty cool. We'll see how it feels in practice, right? The thing's going to be moving forward. There's reasons it might look a little weird, but, so I've been editing this prefab, and I'm going to unpack this particular prefab. Unpacking means disassociate yourself entirely from the prefab, and it just becomes a big pile of stuff. And the reason I'm doing that is if I go... So I'm going to put this back at the origin just so it's in a predictable place. There it is. This is without any rotation or any separate location. It shoots. There's the shells popping out. And then I'm going to drag this... I'm going to unpack this completely because it looks like there's... Because I put a prefab inside of a prefab, and it can get fiddly. You might regret that someday. So I'm going to drag this prefab right into the other one. Oh, come on. Oh, references. Oh, that's why it's mad at me. Remember how I said I didn't want that destroy me script? Well, it's crapping at me that this script is missing. Well, tell you what, it doesn't matter. Because at the top of this, it's got a pool particle script, which deletes it when it's done and does all that stuff. Like I said, there's 8,000 different ways that people get rid of effects to clean them up when they're done. In fact, like for 8 years, they didn't have any way for the particle systems to clean themselves up. You can actually set that right here. It's under stop actions. You can say, destroy me when I'm done with all my particles. It's like built in now. But in my case, I have a pool of these particles. I recycle them. And let's just drop this muzzle flash in. Yes, and now it's going to stop complaining at me, which is great. I'm going to delete this. We're going to delete this body. And let's see what machine guns look like. It might look terrible, right? Like, I don't know. They're always going to shoot to the right, but I'm all right with that, right? It's like, I think when you shoot a gun, yeah, the bullets come out of the right side. Or at least a consistent side, right? I think it's always the right side. I'm sure there are left-handed guns out there, but I'm not aware of any. All right, so I'm going to mount up some machine guns. Machine gun! And we're going to spawn some bandit scouts. There's a whole bunch of you dudes. And they have guns, and I have guns, so that's cool. Hey, and there's those bullets. Sweet. Alright, let's see what happens when they try shooting at me. They're all going to use the same effect. Oh, there it is. Shells everywhere. Oh my gosh. That's kind of fun. We'll let it go with this. It's a little comical, right? They shoot like 3 tiles to the front, to the right. They're way over here. So that's 2 game tiles to the right. So in a city, that's like a block away, sort of. So that might be a little much. I don't have to luckily I don't have to do anything weird. I can just go in and edit this directly, I think in session. So let's ease that speed off just a hair. It doesn't have to be much less because it's actually, the moment it hits the ground, it skids. So if you might take a quarter off the speed, and you're gonna end up with half the distance. So it's kind of fiddly. Let's see what happens right now. Oh, here's the other thing I didn't do: the simulation space. So the simulation space is world, right? We want it left behind. If you do it local, it actually hey, because the muzzle flash gets attached to the front of the car, right? So that as it's moving forward and shooting, the fires keeps going forward and is attached to the front of the vehicle. But each individual particle you can set to use local, which would be it moves with everything else, or world space. So if I do that, it should. Oh, it's moving with me right now. I actually don't know if I can edit this prefab while it's moving. I'm assuming I cannot. I've never tried that, actually. Okay, so now I'm going to take simulation space is going to be world here. Yep, world. And we got this 3 and 4. It was already loaded. So I don't know. Well, let's see if it should just magically work now. I'm super confident here. So confident. This is the face of confidence right here. As the game starts. Confidence. It's gonna be great. Mount machine gun. Alright. Oh, I need something to shoot. Spawn bandit scouts. Those, because who doesn't want more of those? Yeah, now it's working fine. Yeah, so you leave them behind. So that's actually what's important to get right. And I like the fact it doesn't go as far. They're lit up pretty bright. I think they're full bright, but actually if that makes them stand out in the world. Let's see how they look in the city while we're at it. So let's go to the Ruined City. Ruined City. So this is a different type of map. There's no terrain here, and everything is made of tiles. So, basically it creates a pool, and it allocates out like buildings out in the distance that you can see, gets rid of them and recycles them as they're behind you. This is a little more of the traditional sort of 3D experience. And look at this shiz! Try to lead population entry Ruined City from location. You can't read that, but that would be something that I did not do right. Small City Basic. So what I did the other day was before, the maps were responsible for all the spawn details of, like, a map knew that it spawned gangs and which gangs were per wave. It was bad. I mean, it was basically something I did way back when I was first working with just kind of populating a dungeon. And I thought, well, yeah, cities are always going to have mutants in them, and outposts are always going to have... Exactly, right? Yeah. Actually, I would love a Scrooge McDuck Vault of Shells. That sounds actually very Borderlands, but there's a little bit of that sort of like tongue-in-cheek goofiness that comes in this game as well, with all the social media aspect. And honestly, professional wrestlers are... Our drivers are professional wrestlers. They basically are. They they'll taunt each other. They got rivalries. The whole deal. So yeah, them having a vault full of spent shells that like some complete gun nut or maybe a really rich driver might have, just to be ridiculous, sounds awesome. So Small City Basic. Here we are. So when I'm defining various cities here, I'm inheriting City Basic. There's some things that I do. There's a population entry Ruined City. So now instead of a location being responsible for its population, it is as it should. It means basically there is a faction that occupies a city, right? So there's code that says, all right, this particular mutant faction takes over the city. It's now responsible for spawning enemies when I go into it. And all the city does is it says, hey, here's a keyword, Ruined City. All right, faction, give me whatever population profile a Ruined City would give you. So, in this case, this is looking okay, right? So what it's doing is this faction it's when I run City Basic, or Small City Basic, I guess. This is what I'm running, but it's actually inheriting from this. So all the stuff in here is in this lower one. But the population entry is Ruined City. So it's going to look to its faction and say, all right, whatever you're using, whatever faction you are, look for the keyword Ruined City and then use that spawn profile. Just want to make sure this is all set up properly. So this is a mutant wave. Let's just change this right now so that we can just get on with our lives to a... Interesting. Why is that wrong? Let's change our faction type to gang. Because mutants, I mean, I set up the mutant factions, but they're only half done. I don't have any mutant models or anything like that. So, all right. Ooh, all right. Try to read population entry Ruined City. Okay, so I'm going to run the debugger quick because this is a time when debugging is handy. And we will see where it crashes and what's wrong. Because I think this is just... Basically, I had to change over Unity instance. Why could it not find the Unity instance? Alright, let's reopen Visual Studio here. Let's make sure that connection is still there. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Alright, attach to Unity in play. I'm going to do this. It should start debugging and select Unity instance. How bizarre. Okay. I don't know what that's about. Debug. Attach Unity debugger. Well, there it is. Why did it not find it before? Oh, there's still 2 versions of Unity here. That's probably not helping. Oh, yeah. Right. Let's shut this crap down. So it decided it would grab the other version of Unity. Let's try that again. Attach Unity debugger. There is only one Unity open now. It's not gonna grab the wrong one. And the game should be up. Come on, game. You're up. There you go. There it is. Yeah, baby. Get population info. This is going to be trouble. Trouble. There will be trouble. Okay, so it is using a... Oh! Yeah, okay. So when I load a map directly, you know, as in I've got, you know, Ruin City open directly, and I don't go through it. I don't start it through a campaign where I start the game and so on. It does what's you might call bootstrapping, right? It's actually like fake. It's like making a whole campaign, and then it inserts whatever map you've got created, and it staples it onto the side of the campaign so you can play that without having to go through the start menu and the intro and all that stuff. There's other ways of doing that. I mean, having a very robust console teleport system and all that stuff would help. But when I started way back, I added this bootstrapping system, but it can be a little fiddly. Occasionally there's something I'll miss when I'm like, okay, if you go through normal channels, it populates properly. If you don't, in this case, the problem it had was that it defaults to the tutorial faction. So I just have to add the tutorial faction to... here we go. Ruin City, population entry. Here it is. So in this case, the novice mutants, that's sort of like the base level mutants. They have a specific population profile for a battleground. You know, that's like if you encounter something out in the wild. Outposts, these are the walled outposts where you're trying to destroy the watchtowers. The Ruin City, which is what I was about to start, and Overworld. And they each have their own population rules and have ways of what to spawn. It's like, okay, you start with guys with rockets, and then you move into guys with whale slicks in wave 2. And then when you get to the end of the waves, it spawns the boss. Either that or this is your mission. You're going to destroy the fuel tanks, and every time you destroy a fuel tank, it'll advance the waves, and that's how the city and the outpost work. Is that? But this is just a little dumb thing. I didn't make a Ruin City entry for. I didn't make a Ruin City entry for the faction gang tutorial, which is the default. So it's a stupid little thing, right? So right here, all of this was just so that I can, let's stop debugging. I think I got this covered. It doesn't recover from that being null very gracefully. That is bad form, frankly. I'm not going to fix that right this second. I just want to try running this thing and making sure that what I just did is okay. There we go. There we go. Look at that. All right, gonna mount some machine guns. So when I hit mount, I mount them on all 4 sides. Hey, there's some barrels. So as I mentioned, this isn't terrain, right? This is actually like if I pause the game. Well, there's a fog plane over everything, but everything outside of my view is not visible, and everything in my view is, and it basically creates the buildings and Spawn puts them in place, and then when I move away, it recycles those buildings. You know, each of these little things is a ground tile. And there's, you know, fun little physics objects and stuff in here too. So it's all built using the same patch system I've been demonstrating throughout the week. Anyway, I was just curious. This room's really bright today. It's usually a little darker in the city, but maybe I'm just crazy. All right, I'm gonna shoot this dog. Where's the shells? Shoot the dog. Who would want to shoot a dog? There it is. So one thing I probably need to fix is that these world tiles are. Oh, jeez, really? Okay, these world tiles are terrain. The terrain layer, right? So I had mentioned that before. But what the hell? The terrain, the height map terrain from the other map is terrain base, and these are actually on the terrain layer. And then this one is gameplay, which I gotta fix. So anyway, the point is that this isn't going to quite work until I do the 5-shot. Open up that 5-shot. I gotta make the particle system. Here's the particle system. It collides with terrain base. I gotta add regular terrain to that. That's it. Pretty simple, right? Now it's gonna collide with the world. It should bounce off building walls and stuff, which is great, right? I mean, it's the beauty using a 3D engine like this. I mean, it's like, you know, sometimes you're like, oh god, I wish, you know, I had my own engine where everything was exactly the way I want, and that's the way a lot of programmers think. But then you get those days where I'm like, I mount some machine guns, and this is all stuff I homegrown, you know, like this weapon system and all that. But then I'm like, oh, I want to throw in some, you know, machine gun shots that bounce off walls and stuff. And they magically work. They are magically working, right? Where are my shells? Where are my shells? Need the cash. Huh. What do I do? Interesting. Okay. Well, that'll be a mystery I'll have to solve. 5-shot. There they are. Why are these all active? According to this, there are 6 visible and rendered muzzle flashes on this entity. So it isn't disposing of itself properly, which is a little weird. I'm not feeling great about that. I'm gonna open that sucker up. Let's open that sucker up. I'm gonna give it a lifetime because I hadn't given it a lifetime before. Let's give it 4 seconds. Okay, great. You are learning with me because I'm not sure what happened. Alright. Oh. Gotta shoot at something that's gameplay worthy. There's a crate. Oh, there's those shells. Okay, I saw them. We saw them. Spawn, bandit, sky, cruiser. Okay. Okay, there's the bullets. Great, it's all good. Still going through the world here. Not exactly sure what that's about. I think what's happening is that there it is. Hello, Mr. Big Head. There we are. Oh, thanks for the props and the graphics. Actually, a lot of this, in fact, almost all of it, are purchased assets. So, this is a specific asset pack. Do this real brief detour. Connect to asset store. Come on. Assuming connecting to asset store is something I can do while running the game. I think I can. It's probably not particularly speedy though. I'll fire that up in a sec. But thanks. They are assets that I all purchased and kind of kit bashed into various things. So, but I really am super happy with these vehicles in particular. These buildings worked out all right. This is a pack that was everything was all very low poly and Atlas textures, so it didn't use many materials, and that actually makes it render very fast. So I was able to use packages like that to kind of fill things out, and then I purchased, stoplights and various things. I had to home grow some of my own sidewalks and all that. But sorry, I was just looking at this. I wanted to know if these things were terrain layers. Yeah, not everything is a terrain layer. That's interesting. Alright, well that's a mystery I'm going to have to solve. It's a mystery. Clonze. Welcome to the stream. Alright. So when I'm out here, let's kind of do a little trial run here. Make sure everything's all working here. Before I wrap up, I've got these machine gun shells, and I am still not thrilled that I'm not seeing them constantly. Because I want to see them spewing out, right? Here they are. Oh! Okay. You know why, I believe, is I think if I face this way, yeah, the bullets go to the right. If I face the other way, the bullets go to the left. Maybe. They're going to the right. Okay. That time they went forward. Okay, and that time they did not. Which is fiddly. I don't know what's going on. Oh, you know what it probably is actually these objects, these planes here, well, these buildings, like if I look at a building, it's got a box collider on it. This is how physics objects are detected in the game in Unity. They have colliders attached typically. So in this case, I've got a building. It's got a box collider attached to it, like this building right here. Yeah, see, there's a box collider over everything, and that box collider, I can edit it. Right there, it is. Look at that. It's a big box over the whole thing, and it doesn't. Yeah, the roof isn't sloped or anything like that, but it's got a box collider on it. Is the point, and the reason that's important is I don't have a soundboard like Jim does, but wah wah, the road doesn't have any collision on it, and usually it doesn't matter, right? I'm calculating all my own collision. It's all cool, and in most cases, actually, when I do effects, they are they don't need collision on the ground. They bounce off these planes that I added to the effect. I try to know. Oh, you know what you're doing, clean console log, dude. Oh, here's my shame. Boop. Yeah, I just turned off all the regular crap. I got a bunch of startup spew that I've been working on some things. So yeah, no, clean console log. Oh well, yeah, okay, no, not many errors. There's some warnings I gotta clean up yet. This is all rewired stuff that I can't really control very effectively. This is a little bit of a startup error I've had for a while, and then I have some warnings for some things that I'm loading in the not cleanest way. I'm not pre-caching them properly, so I'm not loading them ahead of time. I'm spawning them on the fly. And that was in part because I was spawning things with the console. But yeah, and then collisions I have a spew. So yeah, I know I have just as much spew as anyone else, or maybe some people are worse. But anyway, so road mid PF. So yeah, all these the shells are just falling through the floor. That's why we don't see them, right? They bounce off buildings because they have collision. The ground does not. So I'm still not sure. So I'm like a paranoid dude, and I like keeping things as clean as possible. And there's interestingly, Ruin City. There's something we're not seeing here, and that is that I believe Ruin City has a big plane under it. There's a reason that when things are blown up, like a car's blown up, it still bounces on the ground properly. Let's check this out. I think I spawned it on the fly. I can't remember. Like, I don't know. I wrote that. Yeah, geez, dude. I wrote that like 2 years ago. I don't know. Expect me to remember stuff I wrote? Come on. Free look. Let's hide the fog. Look around. Get out of there. And pause. All right. So here's what's being rendered right now. There isn't a big. There isn't a big collision volume under the world. I'm just still kind of amazed that these objects are not they don't have collision. See, you see all these things that are turned off. These are entities that are spawned in the world, and they're out at the edge of the world. So if I turn these on, right, there they are. And this I have to do more effectively. Like if I had a real big boy system, I implemented this a long time ago when I didn't really know what I was doing. I'm very efficient spawning these. I spawn them, and when they're gone, I recycle them and use them in other places. All the entities, they have gameplay attached to them, so I can't recycle them. Sorry, that's just something that's been bothering me lately. Is I probably should fix that. But yeah, for now, I'm going to, let's see, we got road, outer. Yeah. Here's all the roads, right? And what I could do here is I can add a box, box glider, or is there another type of glider? Add a mesh glider because basically these things are squares. Well, there is a game manager handling all the data. There's a game manager. I don't use the update functions of entities or anything like that. Those are all done through a game manager. But my game object is still an entity. It's a mono behavior. It's got all that extra baggage. The nice thing is it can take collision messages, and it can it handles all its own rendering and all that. But really, like I said, a big boy simulation, I would have my own objects in my own simulation off to the side entirely, and then I would spawn all the visuals for a car or a tree or whatever when you get nearby, and those entities would only exist at that time. So that is a change that I'll probably needed to make. The world was the worst part. I had to do it to the world because otherwise there were 8 hojillion buildings and tiles all over the place, and at least entities aren't quite as bad. So yeah, gameplay isn't. Yeah, they have some scripts on them. Well, that is exactly. I'm using the parts of the mono behavior that I need for it. But I'll show you what an entity declaration looks like. It is a mono behavior, right? So it is an entity, has all that stuff. It's got all my own stuff for controlling how big it is and how fast it is and how heavy it is and all that stuff. If I go to update, where's the update? Entity. Here's the entity system. It handles spawning and deleting things safely. I track all my entities with tokens. I have a list of all the entities, and every frame I go through and I update that entity using its own frame update function. So the mono behavior part of these entities now is mostly just the physical, like the transform stuff, which tells it where it is, and it helps me like put sounds on it and stuff like that. And then the visual part, right? So the cars have 8 cojillion parts, and when they get killed, the entity is killed, and the object is kind of thrown as physics. So I'm probably can make that change that I was just talking about before, where I divorce from mono behaviors, and that'll allow me to load assets a little differently. That's the reason I was lamenting it yesterday, but I won't get into that today. So anyway, I added a mesh collider in here. Let's see what the result of the mesh collider is. There it is. There's the road edge that I just put down. The fact that it's 0.5 below this is another legacy thing that makes me feel like an idiot. I really should handle that differently, but hey, look at that. I put mesh collider on the roots. I don't think I want that. Alright, let's drag these out here. I'll just open them quick. Plane. Look at all those planes. Sweet. Planes. We're going to add a mesh collider. I want it on the child, not on the root. I just want it near the visual data. It doesn't really matter to Unity. It doesn't care whether it's buried or not. There they are. I have to apply these changes. That's the only drag here. It's a drag. I don't think I can do that as a group edit. Maybe I can. Boop. Overrides. Cannot show the overrides. Yes, but I can apply them all in one fell swoop. Sweet. So yeah, those grounds now have collision on them. And then, by the way, I noticed this quad tile horse. This is like certain elements spawn this quad, and then they put whatever material they need to on demand. And I just noticed that was gameplay, and that's supposed to be terrain as well, not gameplay. And what do you know? It does have a collider on it. It does. Look at that. Sweet. Yes, I have decoupled the game logic updates from Unity's built-in update methods. Yes, it manages stuff. That is exactly what I do. And the reason is that, yes, it basically, like, you watch Unity tutorials and imagine it's Babby's very first Unity project and they want to show you how easy it is to put something in Unity. Well, they're going to say, all right, on update, which is, you know, I got game update, right? And I've got frame update. These are things that I call in my entity. But, you know, a normal entity like, let's say a spell. A normal entity, when you spawn it in Unity, oh, no. Spells are not updated this way either. Space update, paren. something's got an update. There's things out there with updates. Yeah, UI, right? UI is certainly okay with doing this. So, yeah, this update function is built into every mono behavior. There's probably even a few where it like, yeah, update is called only once per frame, right? This is an example where you make a quick mono behavior and it puts this in. Use this for initialization. These are like default comments, and it's like almost comedy when you see those. It's like, oh man, you never deleted that. Hey, Shomolo sauce. How's it going? Let's type autofire. Get a little pin for that. You guys should go to either join the Discord or Steam wishlist it. And the reason you should Steam wishlist this game is because it helps me out. It noodles all those sort of Valve Steam numbers. You know, everything's all driven by numbers, and it helps me out. You know, even if you never buy it, you just forget about it. You're like, wow, what was that game Autofire? Why did I wishlist it? Maybe you get rid of the wishlist later, but it does help me out. So that would be a great way to help me out with no cost to you. Anyway, I'm gonna go back. We're gonna run this ruined city one last time. We're gonna drive around it. It's gonna be amazing. Come on, you. There we go. Object at index 0 is null. Seriously? Maybe it didn't like me putting all those things in there. Oh shit. Damn, son. Alright, okay. Did I do something bad? By group editing those mesh colliders? I don't think so. Should be okay. Oh god, wouldn't that be awesome if I just broke the game or something like that? Yeah, let's delete this crap. Gone. Bye. Road edge entry. Sorry, that's what source control's for, right? Alright, I just wanna wrap this up. Ah, yes, Car Wars sessions, right? So check this shiz out. Like this is the inspiration. So old school Car Wars Auto Duel, which was a game in the 80s that was had the metagame in the world of Car Wars, but it was sort of this weird top-down thing that was kind of hard to play. And if you scroll down below the stream and you see a tank girl looking chick, she's like my favorite. I call her Daisy. She's going to be one of the rivals you're going to be driving against. And she was created by the same person that illustrated this box cover and did a lot of the original art for Car Wars, Dennis Lubbe. So I love pimping that out because there's like only X number of people in the world who might groove on the fact, you know, this sort of old school reference. But he was super happy to do it because he hadn't done Car Wars stuff in a long time, and here I was paying him to basically do the same stuff he had done back in the Car Wars days. So anyway, I'm gonna drive around a little bit here. Let's test this out. Make sure the game works okay. I'm going to cheat though, and I'm going to mount some machine guns because that's what we came here for, right? All right, here we go. Yay! Everything's okay. So in case you just joined us, which I think one or two of you did, we were going into our muzzle flash VFX when I shoot, and adding these little shells that come out of the side. And I stole the shells from an effect package that I had purchased. Oh, dog. I have dogs, but they don't do it. They do like 1 point of damage to you. It's mainly because Wastelanders gotta have the German Shepherds, right? But then I feel really bad shooting the dog. You hit F, you just tap F and it'll auto target and it shoots things, and like, oh. So maybe I'll have an achievement like don't hurt any dogs. Yeah, finish the game without hurting a dog. Which is pretty entertaining. So, all right. So my mission here is to destroy all the fuel dumps. There they are. Unlike the watchtowers, I haven't set up like any sort of active defenses for these guys. I mean, they spawn flamethrower guys. Who's the guy I just killed? I didn't let him shoot his flamethrower at me. But he needs this fuel dump needs some extra. Wow, this machine gun isn't very good at just damaging structures. Oh, look at this automation. All right, let's go. Let's do a little bit of repair. I cheated, so I put machine guns everywhere. And what do you know? I found another machine gun out there in the wilds. That's not really going to help me since I cheated. I got my flaming oil jet. My bootlegger is my special ability here. So you see the special abilities here on the left, upper left, and I can use that if I play with the controller. Let's play with the controller. This controller is like, it has a fan and stuff. This is the controller I bought when I first wanted to help Jim out with Dungeon Mans back in like 2009. We got together at his house, and he only had gamepad controls set up, I think, for roaming around the world. It was just like an overworld, and you know, we were playing around with generating some dungeons, and I was learning like C# because you know, I was like an old C programmer, and C# was something I hadn't touched. So kind of reminds me of those days, but this is the controller I bought so that I could work on Dungeon Mans. Update my info stuff. Yeah. Where should I put that info? So some people say that. I mean, I've got a lot of experience in the industry. I've done a lot of AAA game development and all that stuff, and I don't know, it just sometimes in the indie world, it doesn't feel like that counts for a whole lot. People are like, "Oh, well, are you an indie hit that had a, $200,000 Kickstarter?" No. I just made some games for companies and did some stuff. Yeah, right. Like, yeah. So, but yeah, no, I'd like to. I don't mind using the. I mean, at least let's put it this way: if just by sharing that that I've made a bunch of games, at least means I'm serious, right? I'm not gonna give up on this later and be like, I'm sick of this and not ship this thing. I mean, this game is gonna kickstart in January. What you see up here at the top of the screen is true. You know, we got 9 weeks to Kickstarter. Which is right after the Car Wars 6th edition Kickstarter ends, so I wanna not be at the same time as that, so that'll fit in pretty well. But the plan is to go into early access for August, like PAX time, right? So shoot. All right, so I gotta take out the rest of these. Let's see where we were. I gotta find the rest of these fuel dumps. You have a link to your Moby Games. Hey, Life's Meaning 42. Thanks for. Hey, how's it going? Welcome. All right, I'm gonna pick up. Keep going here. Hey, you. I need some of these crates to see if I can load up some other weaponry, but for now, I'm going to put down some flaming oil. Okay, I got a bolt carbine. Let's get around here. Yeah, get some. Oh, come on. Get some. Game dev is going good, right? This is super impromptu. I didn't even really have a plan for today. We were just kind of messing with some effects. You look very closely, which admittedly is a little bit of a little noodling thing, but when I shoot my machine guns, which we will see in a moment, shells come out to the right here, so just kind of did that. We did some cleanup and messed with some watchtowers and things like that, so it was good fun, kind of just goofing around and doing a little bit of tooling around the engine and explaining how things work. I'm gonna go into the automation. All right, do I have any other equipment here? Did I pick up? Bolt carbine. Yep. Okay. All right. I'm going to mount multi-rocket front. Yeah, we are. Oh, snap! Input string was not in the correct format. That's alright. Let's keep going. I thought it was. Mount front multi-rocket? I could have sworn I wrote that. Yeah, alright. Okay, sweet. I put it on side 0. So just get some, just to get some liveliness in here. Just wanted to slapped on a new weapon, multi-rocket 1-0. Come on, you. I thought I had this set up where I could do each side, but I'm just gonna mount these things because I like them. All right, we're gonna amp it up here. Batmobile cornering grapple hook, right? My cars do corner pretty well. That's on purpose. Because otherwise everyone's going to hate me because they can't drive around these cities. These cities even now have, like, I used to have more like 1-lane wide alleys. Just, you know, it's just part of the procedural generation. They are super rare now, thank God. But even just driving around 2-lane roads, there we go. So there's those junk missiles I was talking about. Actually, those should have alternated. They will alternate. In this case, we just happened to roll, flip a coin, and ended up with 3 heads. Oh god, barrels! Hey, but those barrels like bounce off the ground and didn't fall through the world, so that's pretty sweet. We did fix that issue. All right, I'm still looking for fuel dumps. There must be over there. The off-screen pointer will definitely point me to them, but I have to find them on my own first. Once I get near, it'll point me to where they are. I added that a couple weeks ago. It should be in the newest build. This game you can download. If you look for Autofire on itch, you'll see that the game is available for download. You'll see, like, I mean, you get all the bumps and bruises and the half-done stuff that you get with development. But hey, this is game development. You know, things don't generally work amazing all the time. And games, as it's been said, games are terrible until they're great. So there's get some stuff. I had thought about that Batmobile cornering. Alright, there's 2 fuel dumps remain. You can see that the population advanced, and Stalwart Raptor, our boss of this area, gives me a little bit of a taunt. He's sending out new waves. So this car has a speed ability that if you go over 40 miles an hour, you stun things that you go by. So characters will just they'll just sit there. If it's a car, it'll careen into whatever obstacle it's heading towards, right? So that's always fun. This is here. I got flamethrowered. All right, let's get some more flaming oil out. I'm on fire, but come on, you. Oh. That totally sounds like the bully from The Simpsons. All of my characters sound like they're from The Simpsons. These are all just sound assets that I bought on the asset store. And the voice ones, unfortunately, are usually like some rando in his bedroom, doing like, hey, I'm gonna do some voices, and they're just like, attack, go get him, and they come out and you're just like, oh god, like that I can't use this. And you can't always preview them when you purchase them. So luckily these are like $10 packs, right? So usually I'll just grab the sounds that I think are useful, and then because I'm used to working with really professional, amazing sound designers that are just so good at their craft. I'm kind of a snob about good sound. Yeah, right? Like, yeah, putting down I wrote that down, actually. It's pretty good. I was thinking about the Batman cornering of grapple, and again, whether it be useful or not, but clothesline, right? Electric clothesline would be a great ability, for sure. All right, so let's take out Stalwart. See, look at this. Like, this dead ends are bullshit in cities, right? You drive in, and you hit a dead end, and my procedurally generated, this is all procedurally generated city, right? And it, okay, we went up at a level, great. Hey, whoops, guess the gamepad can't press that button. And I avoid dead ends as much as humanly possible, but they happen sometimes, and it just takes a couple of them for people to just be like, screw this game, I can't stand it. So it's just something I just constantly have to fight against. Right. Alright, Stalwart Raptor. We're gonna... that's trash there, so I can go through that. Go, go, go! I'm gonna put some smoke down. You can't shoot me as readily. Oh, jeez. I did get flamed, though. Oh, did that smoke not block his line of sight? Okay, I gotta fix the smoke. The smoke is blocking my line of sight, but apparently not my opponent's. That's sub-awesome, too. Oh. Alright, come on, baby. Yeah. And you see that rockets, they use ordnance here on the left. So actually, when I use multi rockets, it eats up the rockets pretty fast. There's actually like an 8-ball rocket shader, so it'll actually shoot 8 rockets, and that consumes 4 ordnance per shot. So yeah, it's not. Rockets are pretty great, but they can be a little expensive. Oh dear, am I gonna be able to get away with this? The problem with this multi-rocket is it's got a really short range. Alright, here we... oh, wasted. Wasted. Alrighty. So this is by Dennis Bay right here, this character. So I think she's awesome. So they're making me some more... he's making me some more characters. I've got basically a pro wrestler type coming and a cowboy. I need somebody to be the face of the voice in my trailer, so that's a good reason to do it. In fact, I'll sign off with my trailer here. Boom, boom, hey you. So thanks for coming by, everyone. Where's my channel? Here's my channel. Here we are. Here's the alpha trailer. Sweet. So, anyway, this is...
we've all seen the vids of the world before the calamity. But that place is just a speck in the rear view now.
So this character is... the voice of this character is from a voice actor that Andrew Zircon, the Tangle Deep guy, set up for me like last minute when I was making the trailer. It was like due the next day for a submission that I was doing. And it was all text, and he's like, all right, I got the guy that did the voice for Just Cause 3 or 4, Orion Akaba. He's going to do your voice. And I'm like, that's sweet. It was like really cheap, and it was voice directed and the whole deal. So that was cool. But then my poster child basically became Daisy here, right? Because Daisy's awesome. So, but there's going to be plenty of rivals in the game, and those are just 2 characters that you will meet. So, anyway, I think that's it. I'm jabbering. Oh my god, I've been jabbering for like 3 hours. How'd that happen? Okay, sweet. Well, thanks for coming by, everybody. Appreciate you checking it out. I dev stream every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. If you have any comments, like you wish that I streamed nights or later in the day, I'm open. I'm still flexible, right? I just want to stick to a schedule. And so I'm trying some of these second times a week, just in different times, to just see how it feels for me and you guys. So anyway, it's all good. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Right? So when do you finish work? You said good evening, so it's all right. All right, take it easy. 5 p.m. UK. Oh, okay. All right. So that's like well, that's pretty early our time, right? That's 10 o'clock or something, I think, Pacific. 10 a.m. Or no, we're later than you guys. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. No, we're it's earlier. Yeah, it's 10 a.m. for us. Anyway, I'm going to shut up before I make a Tenerife. All right, I'm going to take off. Thanks, everybody. It's been good.